Hello, Sacral Beauties. Welcome to the SheSacral podcast, where we focus on burnout recovery through the power of sacred pleasure. We have actually reached our final burnout archetype. If this is your first time tuning in, be sure to check out the first episode, which dives in a lot deeper into the Myers-Briggs personality framework, as well as how your personality impacts how you perceive stress. So that way you can kind of understand these topics a little bit more. But I'm excited because today we're going to dive in and talk about the personality type ENTP. And for your burnout archetype, you are going to be the rebuilder. If you have been jumping from one idea to the next, abandoning what feels hard and wondering why you're always tired, even with exciting new beginnings, this episode is for you. So for your personality type, as an ENTP, you tend to be extroverted with how you draw in energy. You follow your intuition with processing information. You're more of a thinker with how you make decisions, and you rely on your perception with how you relate to structure and flexibility, which means you prefer to go with the flow. So for your sacred strengths as an ENTP, you are innovative, adventurous, and magnetic. You thrive on fresh ideas and big visions. Your energy for reinvention is a gift. You breathe life into new possibilities. So let's take a moment to celebrate that, because your ability to start new chapters is truly sacred. It's powerful. Some people hold on to something that's not working forever and never allow themselves to pivot, but not you. But what happens when starting over actually starts to become more of an escape? Some signs that your personality could be creeping you into burnout can look like leaving projects unfinished when they get hard and craving that newness rush. Oh, it's so addictive, isn't it? You ghost commitments because discomfort feels unbearable, and you avoid accountability because it feels like restriction. Some clues that your body may be going into burnout can look like adrenal fatigue, scattered focus, and low energy even when you feel quote-unquote excited. Now, I want to take a quick pause because a lot of this information can feel super overwhelming. Click the link down below, which is going to take you to a free burnout pattern quiz, and that's going to get nice and specific for you to figure out what is really causing your burnout. So let's dive in a little bit more to understanding your burnout archetype. I love to cover coping mechanisms because they tell us a lot more about what's going on a deeper level. When it comes to our survival mechanisms, we tend to fight, flight, or flee, freeze, or fawn. But for your personality type, you tend to live in flight mode, always scanning for the next idea, opportunity, or fresh start. It's not just curiosity anymore. It's a survival strategy. When discomfort rises, you instinctively outrun it by chasing novelty. The rush of beginning something new temporarily soothes your nervous system, but it's a quick fix. You skip the stillness that would allow your body to process the emotions you're running from. But let's dive in a little deeper and talk about the core beliefs that could be shaping your archetype. You may find yourself thinking or saying, starting fresh will fix everything. You believe reinvention will dissolve burnout without realizing that you're simply layering burnout back in with just a new scenery. Another belief could be, if I slow down, I'll feel trapped. Stillness feels like a cage because it forces you to face emotions and fatigue that you've been outrunning. Movement feels like progress. Even if that movement is sideways or backwards, the sense of doing something feels safer than pausing. Some root causes that may have shaped some of these beliefs could look like being praised for being dynamic, adaptable, or fun as a child, and you learned that energy and quick pivots kept you liked, accepted, and admired. You may have learned that safety is in flexibility, not stability. Stability could feel risky because it requires sustained presence, and with it, the chance of confronting boredom, stagnation, or vulnerability. There could also be a generational belief to keep moving or risk failure. You may have inherited the belief that staying in one place too long will lead to being irrelevant or collapsing. Your core fear could look like being stuck, irrelevant, or emotionally exposed in your struggle. So you leave before anyone could see the cracks. Your nervous system could equate stability with being trapped, even when your body is begging for rest. But let's reframe this a little bit more. Newness isn't true freedom if you're carrying around the same exhaustion into every new start. When it comes to reinvention, it's most powerful when it's grounded in restoration, when your nervous system is calm enough to sustain the new life that you're building. So it's like repainting the walls of a house with cracked foundations. Yeah, it looks fresh on the surface, but the cracks are still there, and they'll keep showing up until you repair what's underneath. When it comes to the physical signs, your body mirrors your constant state of go. Even when you think you're resting, your mind is scanning for the next thing. You could experience restlessness, where you can't fully settle into a chair without fidgeting or grabbing your phone or making a list in your head. You could experience brain fog. The constant shifting between projects and directions scatters your focus, making it harder to follow through. And you could also experience adrenal fatigue, that tired but wired feeling, where mornings feel really heavy, afternoons bring a spike of energy, but then nights feel restless. When it comes to your hormones, living in flight mode keeps cortisol unstable, swinging from spikes during excitement to drops during crashes. And this yo-yo effect completely impacts your reproductive hormones. PMS can become more intense with mood swings and heavier cramping. Cycles may shorten or lengthen or skip entirely. And libido drops because your body interprets survival as a higher priority than pleasure. So when it comes to your sacral energy, the seat of creativity, pleasure, and desire thrives on presence and depth. But constant novelty fragments your energy into shallow bursts instead of sustained creation. It's like watering 20 plants with 1 cup. Everything just gets a little bit, but nothing gets enough to thrive. Now, we've covered a lot here, but I do want to dive in and talk about some common burnout habits that many ENTPs face. Number 1 could be chasing the dopamine hit of new projects. You light up when there's something fresh to brainstorm, but once that novelty wears off, your energy plummets and you're on to the next shiny thing. The next habit could be avoiding repair work, whether it's mending a relationship, fixing a system, or sticking with a hard part of a project. You sidestep the discomfort and choose something easier to start instead. And the last burnout habit I want to cover is over-identifying with reinvention. Reinvention can become a coping identity. If you're always in the process of starting over, you never have to sit with a version of you that feels tired or stuck. The very act of starting over becomes addictive, and your body is paying the price. Because to you and your brain and your subconscious mind, you feel the impact of the work that you're building. You're doing a lot. You're constantly producing or creating or working on a new project, but you never actually get a chance to see the fruits of your labors. And that can leave you feeling so low and depleted and feel like you're never actually going to make it. So how did I get here? Example could be maybe you just quit another project midway because it got hard or complicated, or it just maybe lost its way. And you told yourself that it wasn't a right fit anymore. But deep down, you know that you are afraid of feeling stuck. So now you're sitting here with a notebook full of new ideas and the same exhaustion that you were trying to get away from. Okay, so we covered a lot here, and I want to shift the energy a little bit and focus on some beautiful rituals that are designed just for your personality type. One micro ritual you could do is to practice a sacred pause before you reset. Before you start over, give yourself 1 full week of recovery, sleep, nourishment, maybe sensual movement. Make sure that it's just 0 pressure. You can also set up a nice altar space or a space that feels nice and calming where you can truly ground and immerse yourself. Grab a journal and ask, what am I running away from? And what would it feel like to stay? I want to remind you that there's nothing wrong with craving reinvention, but rest is the foundation for a real rebirth. And be sure to check out the rebirth code. I think that will really align with you in the Sacral Code series. I think you'll really enjoy that. Now, one last thing, if you're listening to this and you're like, maybe I'm a little bit more introverted, then be sure to check out the previous episode, which would be the introverted version of this archetype. And that would be ENTP, or the code switcher. All right, well, this concludes all of the burnout archetypes for this series. Up next, we will start our new series, which will be on burnout wounds. So we will dive in a little deeper into figuring out what could be some core wounds that are driving burnout. Maybe it's money, maybe it's self-esteem, maybe it's something else. Who knows? But we're going to dive into that to understand our burnout patterns even more. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode and this series. Thank yourself so much for showing up today, and thank you for tuning in to the SheSacral podcast.